Okay, let's give you guys some practice now. So which one of these surfaces does this equation represent? So press pause and have a go. Okay, so this equation here will generate this surface here. So let's try and understand why. So let's divide everything by 2. So this whole thing here will become slightly simpler. It will become this. It will become this, slightly simpler. So now let's put 0 into the x. So when you put 0 into the x, this whole thing here will disappear. Then this whole thing here will then become this, z squared plus 4y squared equals 4. So when you put 0 into the x, you've got to picture this in your mind. So imagine this is let's say 1, positive 2, negative 1, negative 2, and so on. So when you put 0 into the x, you've got to imagine the vertical plane. You've got to imagine the vertical plane being located. So this vertical plane here is 1, 2, negative 1, negative 2, and so on. So when you put 0 into the x, you've got to imagine the vertical plane being located at x equals 0. So that will give us a plane located at x equals 0. So the minute you see this, you should automatically know that this is going to give us an ellipse or a circle. So in your mind, picture this z-axis, y-axis, and then because of this 4, it's going to give us an ellipse. So it's higher up here than it is across here. So when x equals 0, you're going to get an ellipse on this plane. So that's why you've got this ellipse here. Now let's try and understand this. So let's try and put 2 into here. So let's just imagine 2 is here. So when you put 2 into the x, you've got to move the plane, the vertical plane, to 1, 2. So now when you put 2 into the x, when you put 2 into this x here, this thing here will become 4 times 4 would be 16. So you're going to have this, minus 16, 4y squared, z squared, plus equals 4. So now add this to both sides. So that will then give us 20. That will then give us 20. So now you know that you're going to get an ellipse, but a bigger ellipse because the radius will be bigger. So that's why you've got a bigger ellipse here. So even if you move, even if you put a negative 2 into the x here, hang on, let's put negative 2 into here. So when you put negative 2, negative 1, let's just imagine negative 2 to be right here. So when you put negative 2 into the x here, it will then become 6. It will then become 4 times this will be 16. It will still be negative 16. 4y squared, z squared plus, and then you would add 16 to both sides. Again, you're going to get an ellipse. Hang on. You're going to get an ellipse, but a bigger radius. That's why you've got this this big ellipse here. So the minute you see this, well, hang on. So the minute you've been given this, if you put 0 into this thing here, you know you're going to get an ellipse. So in your mind, picture this: y, this is your x-axis. So when you put 0 into the x, you know you're going to get an ellipse, and then as you increase x, you're going to get a bigger ellipse. And then as you increase x even further, you're going to get a bigger ellipse. Even if you put a negative x into there, it's going to go in the opposite direction, but it gets bigger in the opposite direction. So you're going to have something looking like this. You're going to have something looking like this. Okay, so the point is that as you put 0 into here, as you put 1 into the x, and so on, you're going to get a whole series of circles or ellipse. And then if you put 0 into the z, and let's put 0 into the z. So if you put 0 into the z, it will give you this. Hang on. So the minute you see this in your mind, you got a picture. Well, if you put 0 into the z, then you're going to get a flat sheet of paper located at z equals 0. So imagine this is a sheet of paper here at a height of 0 because z equals 0. And then when you put 0 into the z, this whole thing here will then give us this. Well, the minute you see this, oh, sorry, that shouldn't. Oh, hang on. The minute you see this, then in your mind you should picture this straight away: y-axis, x-axis, and then you've got a minus here going along the x direction. So that means you're going to get something like this. You're going to get something like this. So because a minus here going in the x direction, you're going to have nothing here in the x direction. So that's why. Well, this is your y-axis, which is this y here. This is your x-axis, which is this x-axis here, and then this is in your positive direction. This is your positive direction. That's why when you put 0 into this z, you've got to imagine a horizontal sheet of paper at a height of 0, and then you're going to get this parabola, this hyperbola here. So that's why it looks like this. So this thing here is represented by this thing here. Hang on. So you've got this thing here on your sheet of paper, and then on the negative side, you're going to have something like this. Hang on. You're going to have something like this. So this strand here is represented by this thing here. So I hope you can see why this equation would generate this surface. So yeah, I hope you can see that.